Today's youth need teachers, volunteers, and most of all, well, they need you. I'm Doug Edwards, and I'm going to be talking with real youth mentors and students to give you the knowledge you need to be the best youth worker possible. This is Youth Worker on Fire. This is Bill Miller, who's Assistant Superintendent with the Lake County Schools. Right. Bill and I go way back with student ministry. I was in student ministry. I was in campus life in South Lake County, and he was at Groveland. Mm-hmm. Then he came up to North Lake County, and I knew his daughter Tara. Right. Coached, he taught, and became a principal, and did a bang-up job, great job. And one thing I always remembered is you were very inviting to me. Here's one thing I want you to tell people, youth workers and as well as teachers, administrators, when we're talking to all those, and that is this. One time you said, I wish you would tell this youth pastor to do this. That's what he needs to do. What do you want if guys like me were to come on a public school campus? Not that it's always inviting, but how can it be inviting? What do people need and how they need to act?
Well, I would think, what I would suggest too, if a youth pastor shows up, which they do from time to time, mm-hmm. I mean, the first thing that should be presented by the youth pastor is, we're here to help, we're here to support, we're here to encourage our kids, that are involved in your school setting. Mm-hmm. They attend our church, go to our youth group, they're a part of our church any way we can. And to come, Doug, with the upfront, we're here to help in any way, shape, or form is vital, because administrators are always looking for help. And the job is impossible. Mm-hmm. So whenever somebody is there willing to provide an assistance. So I would also suggest, Doug, come with some specific ways of helping, not just a general call us if you need us. But if you could come with specific ways, we're here to help if it's possible. Sometimes when we're going through the testing season, there's all types of odds and ends, whether it might be just providing a breakfast for the testing facilitators or coordinators, mm-hmm. just something to let those folks who are going outside of their arena to go through all the testing, some type of support. And then whatever odds and ends there might be, just maybe running errands throughout the campus on those special days. So if youth directors or youth pastors could show up with, number one, we're here to help. Here are some ways, some examples. They all do a little homework before they get there to maybe know what the specific needs are at that particular school. Mm-hmm. Mentoring. There's several kids from our church that are struggling with some of the academics. We have a team of 3 or 4 or 5 folks that would love to come and provide assistance. This one's in English, this one's in math, this one's in science. So come with some specific areas. And
so their talents, if they're talented and it's qualified for certain things, let people know it.
Let people know it. And like I said, we can't do the job. I think there is an understanding, hopefully there's an understanding throughout the administrative world that the job at hand cannot be done by ourselves. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So with that in the back of our minds at all times, support should always be welcomed on a campus.
Yes, and one thing that I was taught by some great leaders and that I try to tell people, and that's what we're telling them actually on this podcast, and that is go with the idea that administrators and teachers love students as much as you do. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And that we're on the same team.
Right, we're on the same team. It's really a joy, and it's a joy too. Another specific example, and this might be limited in some sites, mm-hmm. Cafeteria. We were always very, very, lunchtime, we were always very accommodating and welcoming to our, and I know some principals operate different.
Yes, absolutely.
But I was always very welcoming in having youth pastors, youth directors with us throughout lunchtime.
Yes.
I get to see the kids interact with another adult that I normally don't see. I see the adult interact with the kids as far as providing assistance, support. What are you doing? You still got a B average, or you're still keeping your A's, whether are you still the starting shortstop, whatever it may be. How was the band performance the other night? So when I see youth pastors interacting in a positive way, once again providing support to kids in a cafeteria setting was always encouraging to me. Another specific example, at my last school, we had formed a monthly prayer group. So I know if those youth pastors are serious enough to meet me at 6:15,
Yep.
maybe 6:30 at the latest, if they're willing to get up at 6:15, I know they're serious.
Yeah.
And the support that those prayer groups, or the prayer group we had with the youth pastors, it was primarily just me, Doug. It wasn't the administrative team or everybody over.
Right.
It was the principal only with a group of youth pastors.
Yeah.
Starting a day once a month.
Yeah.
What was interesting to me was it provided a forum for the youth pastors because they have a tough job too.
Yes.
And many times they were there to support me, but I ended up supporting them.
Yes.
When they all got together, they were comparing stories and the challenge at this church, the challenge over here. And,
Yeah,
and they sounded like part of my staff.
That's right. Well, you know, and what they were part of your
Yeah.
volunteer staff
Right,
at that
that's
point,
right. So that was
Leadership's leadership,
That
and you
was
are a leader.
another. That was another specific example. And they'd bring some coffee, donuts from time to time, and just get the day started off
Yeah.
right. So then the key was it's a great way to start the day, but then they leave.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now let's keep that same throughout the day. It was always a challenge. You
Yeah.
know, 3 hours later, something might be breaking loose, and
Right.
And wait a minute, that's not the way this day started.
Well, and at least you get a good jump start
Yeah.
when those guys come in once a week or whenever it was. Tell me that one place in the school system, if you want to encourage teachers, administrators, what are those things that you'd say to encourage them, why you stayed in, and what matters?
Okay, Doug, I think the bottom line, if we, administrators, teachers, pastors, if we don't fall back on the common denominator, which has to be, this is a calling. Our job, it's not a job, it's a calling. It's not confined to a time frame, it's all the time, everything all the time. I used to advise and suggest to my teachers when they would get frustrated, I would go back to this and I would say, if you don't consider this a calling, then you're going to struggle because it's never going to add up. It's never going to be fair. There's always going to be issues out there. Public education is a tough business.
Yes.
And everybody has a different version of the way it should be done.
Yeah.
And so that would be my number one thing, to have an understanding that this is a calling and the purpose is, whatever that purpose would be, why I show up every day and hopefully the bottom line as far as the purpose is we're here to help kids find success in everybody, working together to make that happen with the understanding, Doug, that everybody's going to have a bad day.
Yes.
Not every day is going to be wonderful.
That's right.
But you
That's
know
right.
that coming in.
Yeah.
I think if you can just go back to the idea that this is a calling from wherever, but this is a calling, I think that helps put a better perspective when those, on the challenges that arise from day to day.
Yeah. You stayed fresh. I mean, it was tough. There's no way that any principal goes through without it being a tough job. You seem to have a pretty good handle on it. I know you did some things, though.
Yeah.
Tell me how you started your day and how you were able to stay fresh, how you were able to vacation and different things.
I would start every day, Doug, still do. I start every day with making sure I got the tools necessary, making sure I'm equipped.
Yeah.
And I mean spiritually and physically. And if I wouldn't have that background or that prior preparation going into a day or going into a new school year, I would say it's so important to make sure we have that shield at all times and to have the helmet at all times and to have that armor at all times.
Yeah.
So I try to start fresh every day with reminding myself that I do have the tools to get this done. All right. And then as far as that's concerned, I love to read. I love to read. I love to stay on top of what's going on because, in the ministry, I'm sure, as in education, things change dramatically. And I think trying to stay current, at least current. If you're lucky, you can stay ahead. But at least if you can stay current, it's a big advantage. Making sure you know where the kids are. I would tell people, I've been doing it a while, and there are times when the adult aspect has aged me, but the student aspect has kept me young.
Yes.
So the interaction with the kids and that constant reminder of we're here for them to find success, that's what the driving point is. So maintaining that relationship with the student body, the tangible aspect is it keeps me younger.
Yes.
Okay, at least in here. But it also helps with those relationships. You know, it is heartwarming when you see kids 20 years later and 10 years later or whatever, 30 years later. It's really heartwarming. Or you go to a graduation, and they just show their appreciation. So
Yeah.
those are the items that I use.
Yeah, that's good. I know you were a runner too,
Right,
and
right.
and you did a lot of running.
Well,
and
yeah, the last class, interesting enough, I'm very detailed and oriented when it comes to graduation ceremonies, and
Yes.
boom, bam, bam, just like that. And all of a sudden, we veered off the agenda, and I'm having a fit because you never know with high school kids.
That's right.
But I'm having a fit, and come on, this is not what we planned. We practiced, and we're not doing this. And here it was, the senior class president got up, and this was off script. She got up to present me a gift. And the gift that she presented me was a pair of running shoes because she said, Mr. Miller, for the way you've been running around after us for all these years, the least we could do is give you a pair of running shoes. So I thought that was really nice of them.
Yeah.
But that running too, I just mentioned it briefly, or staying physically tuned in is a big advantage too because it's a high energy job, and you
Yes.
can't sit behind your desk. You do your desk work on Saturdays and Sundays.
Yeah.
But Monday through Friday, you're on the road.
Yeah.
You're in the hallways. You're in the cafeteria. You're on the basketball court. Wherever the challenge takes you.
and that's where it is a calling, and that there's no way. You guys get a lot of heat. Principals get a lot of heat. But the one thing I loved, wanted to put love into and to care for you guys and ladies that I was able to be a part of was you guys are always there.
Yeah.
That's
The visibility is a big deal.
Yes, it is.
The visibility factor is there, but it's the same to go with the youth support, with the pastor. I mean, Doug, you were with us a lot of times, and you were an extended part of our staff as well.
Thank you.
So you didn't give up or quit when it got challenging because kids can be tough.
Oh, yeah.
And you can come home from day to day and say, "Why? I gotta remember why I'm doing this."
That's right. And parents can be challenged.
Yes. So what you have done over the years in providing support to the community, through the church and to the school, I think you set the standard. I would say you set the standard with the level of activities that were going on, the effect it had on the school. That's another thing that you don't really look at. I mean, a lot of times you look and you come and you mentor, you counsel some of your kids that go to the particular school. But the other aspect of that is what effect does that have on the rest of the student body? And if it wouldn't be for a good group of folks that understand the right things to do, to model that to other students, our job would be a lot more difficult. So I don't know if youth pastors ever sit back and look at it from that angle. What effect do we have, not just with our group, coming from our church, but
Right.
what effect do we have on the school?
Yeah.
I can remember FCA here at this school. What a way to start a day.
Yes.
With a lot of kids. I'm talking 70, 80, 100 kids from
yes.
time to time. And when you have those numbers, that has a dramatic effect on that school body, student
Yes.
body. So yeah.
And this is one of the better programs too. Of course, we all love Clark Blake, and you were such a good friend to him,
Yeah.
still are. And Clark, he's an icon. FCA. I talked to Leslie Campion, which was at the peak of that before
Right.
you came here. Yeah, that's good to hear. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to tell youth workers or anyone working with youth on any level, adolescents?
My only recommendation and suggestion would be, Doug, to make sure you stay true to the non-negotiables, because I know we as schools and we as churches sometimes, we go to all lengths to increase our participation,
Right.
attendance, whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
And I would say make sure you stay true to your non-negotiables.
Yes.
We understand, we want to be invitational, but at the same time, these expectations are in place.
And which thing?
And,
Give me two non-negotiables, especially.
Two non-negotiables, make sure you have faith in something. Make sure you have faith. And I would say
There's a higher power.
There's a higher calling. There's a higher calling. We got to show the appreciation to the good Father.
Yes.
So we got to act like we're going to show appreciation to the good Father.
Yeah, yeah.
So just keeping that in mind, and just, I would say, general biblical standards that I think had a tendency to get watered down over the years.
Yeah.
So,
One thing I said was that the students are people too.
yes.
Isn't that hard to remember some days in the midst of the fire when you're with them day after day after day? You're the authority,
Well,
not necessarily you, but the teacher.
Yeah.
And
Teachers are people too.
Yeah, exactly.
So
They have emotions.
Yes,
They have
yes.
good days and bad days.
Yes.
They had bad things happen the night before, good
Yes,
things happen.
right,
Same with
right,
kids.
right.
But students are people too. So what's one thing that you might say to people dealing with people, dealing with students?
Last night I had a chance to give a little speech, and I would say with kids, they're in a building phase at all times. And sometimes kids use the wrong building materials, Doug. Okay?
Great analogy.
And sometimes they got the wrong combination of building blocks or materials, whatever you call
Yes.
them. I would suggest that it takes some time to figure out the right combination of building materials. So that's our job, is to help and provide assistance to those kids in what are the materials that will support in academic achievement, character development, spiritual achievement as well. What are those materials that I can count on that will give me a good foundation, Doug?
Absolutely. Bill, I know you're busy. I know you've got to get back.
I got to go.
And thank you so much,
Yes,
man.
sir, Doug.
You've been listening to the Youth Worker on Fire podcast. If you like what you hear, please subscribe and tell your friends. Also, leave a comment and tell us what you think. Stay tuned for more informative episodes.